I never imagined a simple Tesla charging port could ignite a neighborhood war, but that's exactly what happened in my quiet corner of Maplewood Grove. It all started one sunny Saturday morning when I swung open my front door, coffee in hand, only to hear a voice shrieking from my driveway. There stood Margaret Hensley, our Homeowners Association president, jabbing her finger at the sleek new charging port I'd had installed on the side of my garage. Her face was beet red, veins popping as she bellowed. "This kind of extravagance doesn't belong here. We're a humble community, not your personal tech playground." I froze, dumbfounded, as she raged on, oddly VYS to me standing there, mouth agape. Before I could even respond, a city code enforcement van rolled up, followed by a police cruiser, their lights casting an eerie glow across my lawn. Margaret stood there, arms crossed, smirking like she'd just won the lottery. The code enforcement officer, a tired-looking guy with a clipboard, approached me apologetically. "We got a call about illegal wiring possible fire hazard," he said, glancing at Margaret, who was now pretending to fuss with her scarf. "It was reported as an emergency." I shot her a look, my blood starting to boil, but I kept my cool. "I've got all the paperwork inside," I said, striding back to the house to grab the folder I'd meticulously prepared. The charging port was barely 2 weeks old, installed by pros, fully permitted and inspected. I'd even submitted the plans to the HOA's architectural committee, following every rule to the letter. When I handed over the documents complete with city stamps and the electrician's sign-off, the officer's shoulders visibly relaxed. The cop, who'd been hanging back, stepped forward, eyeing Margaret. "Ma'am, did you report this as an emergency without checking the facts?" he asked, his tone sharp. Margaret's smug grin flickered, but she doubled down. "As HOA president, it's my duty to protect this neighborhood's safety and standards." "That thing's a hazard and an eyesore," she snapped, pointing at the charger like it was a ticking bomb. The officers reviewed my paperwork, confirmed everything was legit, and apologized for the hassle. But before they left, the cop gave Margaret a warning about false reports that made her lips purse tighter than a lemon. As their cars pulled away, Margaret spun toward me, her finger inches from my face. "This isn't over," she hissed, then stormed off to her house down the street. I'd only been in Maplewood Grove for 6 months, drawn by its tidy lawns and easy commute. The HOA rules seemed straightforward: grass height, paint colors, no tacky Christmas inflatables. Nothing banned electric vehicle chargers. In fact, state law protected my right to install one. Margaret had been polite when I moved in, but neighbors whispered she ran the HOA like a dictator. 7 years as president, and she had a vendetta against anyone she deemed too flashy. My Tesla Model 3 wasn't even new, just a used car I'd bought to cut my carbon footprint. The charger? Tucked discreetly by the garage, barely noticeable. But to Margaret, it was a neon sign screaming wealth she couldn't stand. The drama didn't stop there. Monday morning, I found an HOA violation notice slapped on my door. Unapproved exterior modification. Due law 50 daily fine until removed. I nearly laughed at me application had been approved months ago. I fired off an email to the architectural committee with the proof, and they quickly confirmed I was in the clear, promising to handle Margaret. I thought that'd be the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. Over the next 3 weeks, city inspectors showed up 4 more times, each VY sit sparked by anonymous tips about dangerous wiring or code violations. Every time, they found nothing and left looking more fed up than the last. Then came a note's handwritten, nasty little messages taped to the charger. "Think you're better than us? And take your tech trash back to Silicon Valley." I'd had enough. I installed a security camera aimed right at the charger. Sure enough, after the 3rd note, I caught Margaret on tape, sneaking onto my property at 5:30 a.m. to stick her venomous scribbles. At the next HOA meeting, I decided to fight back calmly, professionally. During open comments, I stood up, heart pounding, and laid out the harassment. The false reports, the notes, the constant stress. A few neighbors nodded, their faces tight with recognition, but Margaret cut me off. "Your fancy gadget is tanking our property values," she scoffed, while VYing me off like I was a pesky fly. The committee made a mistake appro-VYing it. As president, I have final say. That was a lie. The bylaws said no such thing, but she barreled on to the next agenda item before I could call her out. After the meeting, two board members pulled me aside, their voices low. "She's been like this forever," one muttered. "We're just too exhausted to fight her." I nodded, but inside I was fuming. This wasn't just about me anymore. Things hit a fever pitch 2 months after I installed the charger. I was burning the midnight oil in my home office when my phone pinged a motion alert from the security system. I pulled up the camera feed and nearly dropped my phone. There was Margaret in a bathrobe and slippers, creeping toward my charger with garden shears glinting in her hand. She yanked at the cable, trying to slice it or rip it from the wall. My heart raced as I bolted outside, the security alarm blaring into the night. "What are you doing?" I shouted, keeping my distance, but holding up my phone, recording every second. She whirled around, shears raised, her eyes wild. "This neighborhood was perfect before people like you showed up," she screamed, spit flying. "Your status symbols and arrogance are ruining everything." I stood my ground. "Get off my property now, or I'm calling 911. She laughed, a bitter, unhinged sound. "Go ahead, me cousin's the police chief." It was a blatant lie, but she thought it'd scare me. When I started dialing, she finally backed off, brandishing the shears one last time before scurrying away. The next morning, I marched to the police station with the footage and filed a report for trespassing and attempted property damage. The officer's face grew grim as he watched the VY Deo. "We've had complaints about her before," he admitted, "but this is the first solid EVY Denke." Word spread like wildfire. By afternoon, my phone was buzzing with texts from neighbors spilling their own stories, petty violation notices, blocked home projects, even gossip campaigns against anyone who dared cross Margaret. 3 days later, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. Their VYEU'd my footage and a stack of resident complaints. In a unanimous vote, they suspended Margaret from her throne, pending a full investigation into her abuses. She didn't even show up, dismissing it as an elitist coup. The real kicker came a week later. I was scrubbing dishes when I glanced out the window and saw a police cruiser park in front of Margaret's house. 2 officers knocked, and soon she emerged, flailing her arms as they calmly cuffed her. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, their faces a mix of shock and relief. As they led her to the car, she spotted me on my driveway and lost it. "This is all because of that Tesla snob," she shrieked, thrashing against the cuffs. "That charger's a threat to our values. You'll all regret this when property values crash." The charges trespassing, attempted property damage, and filing false reports were misdemeanors, but together they packed a punch. At her hearing, the judge tore into her for wasting city resources with her fake complaints. She got 6 months probation, a DULA 1,000 fine, and 40 hours of community service YC. The HOA board didn't stop there. They booted her as president for good and rewrote the bylaws to keep her out of power forever. When the decision was read, her face shock, fury, and disbelief all at once was something I'll never forget. "You can't do this," she whispered, voice trembling. I saw this community, but the vote said otherwise. Now, here's where it gets juicy, and I want to hear from you. Was I wrong to push back so hard, or did Margaret get what she deserved? Should HOAs have the power to control what we put on our own property, like a charger for an electric car? And let's get real, though. You think a Tesla charger really ruins a neighborhood, or was Margaret just jealous? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you're Team Charger, and subscribe for more wild neighbor stories. Let's keep this debate raging.